up in the air where there is no trouble. Go with the flow, let the bubble catch the currents of the air. Drifting along, no worries and no ever caught a ride on a bubble high above the chaos and the maddening clouds below, reaching for the stillness within the clear blue skies, a place where peace and happiness arise. Fly away with me. Floating, fly away. What is this thing that's evading me? Happiness. Always searching for that joy somewhere out there. What is this thing that's evading me? Happiness. Maybe I should start the search deep within. Until then